Hello, hello, hello. We are here with Josh Dzielak from Orbit, a co-founder and quite known developer relations professional. And we gonna discuss today several things. We are right now in Discord. You are welcome to join us after this 40-ish minutes. We'll be in a public channel in a voice mode, so you can talk to us and Josh and ask questions and just hang out and meet other people. But for the next 40 minutes, we gonna discuss several things. Orbit model, I'm a fan. In our Discord, we have avocado chat where we actually geek around Discord model. They also have um, Discord server. That's we're going to discuss too. And before that, they had Slack, and they don't have it anymore. And why?
Nice.
That's what we're going to discuss today. And that's what we're going to ask Josh, who is a CTO and co-founder of Orbit. Did I mess anything up in the intro?
No, it was perfect.
See, so everybody who is normally unhappy about my intros, I am hereby approved by a professional.
Only me is usually I'm the one who is not happy about your intro. So it's okay. Go on.
But you were very happy about this.
Yes, I was. Oh my god.
So look, the migration of orbiters. This is the document that, Josh, that your team sent to people on your Slack, right?
That's correct, yes.
And,
yes, we did.
Let's put a bit of a background. So Orbit model is a tool, an API, and a model for developer relations professionals, right?
That is right. It is kind of all of those things in one. When we say Orbit model, we usually refer to the general philosophy, the way to visualize the community as the multiple layers, the GitHub project, which is our kind of open source documentation for it, and then there's kind of Orbit, the company, and we're building the app and the tooling, the API, and the platform that makes it really easy to practice the Orbit model and to manage a community with it.
And your camera is behaving like two cubes. Is it only for me or
no? It's all for me also.
Would you like to switch off the cam and switch it back off?
Hi, I'm back.
Yes, you are.
Is it better? I'm now totally on 4G and on the phone. I'm trying to change every variable possible to make this work. I don't know if this is better.
Yes.
At least you move, yes. It's good.
At least you move and the Orbit. And you're hiring. I mean, while you're on that, you're also hiring. I saw this on the website. That's it. Just like you open up Orbit.love, and it's like such a nice domain name, Orbit.love. It resonates with me so much. And there is a pop-up. We're hiring. So who are you hiring?
And we're hiring developer advocates, community advocates, software engineers, and we're at that stage where we're just like opportunistically talking to amazing people too who are passionate about building what we're building and think that like community is kind of a big part of the future of business and everything. So even if someone is out there listening and saying, "Oh, there's not a role for me on the page, but I really want to work with this company," you can just email me and like let's talk about it. Because we're pretty flexible.
But it's only for amazing people. What's your definition of amazing people?
Well, I would say the amazingness is really in the eye of the person themselves. So if someone believes that they're amazing, I'm willing to listen to that argument. It's maybe not for me to judge whether they're amazing or not, but if they tell me that they're amazing and then like, here's why I'm amazing and here's why, I just would be so happy and so fun building this thing and working in this company that like I'm going to listen to that every time.
Lara, you're artist, so you're not a developer, but want to give you a try to see if Josh thinks you're amazing? We won't let you go, but still.
So yeah, what's the point of trying then? Because I'm stuck here already.
To figure out if Josh thinks you're amazing.
At least you think that I'm amazing. That's enough for me,
Okay.
You do.
Okay.
You do think like that.
I also want to touch a bit on Orbit, just for a few more things, because how do you explain Orbit to people, since it to my best understanding, it doesn't have a proper graphical user interface, since it depends on how you implement this, right? So how do you show Orbit?
Good question. No, now it very much does. It's an application, runs in the browser. Um, you log in. Some of the screens are ones that show you the list of the members in your community, individual member profiles, who that member is on Twitter or GitHub, where you've interacted with them, an activity timeline of everything that's happening in your community, and then some charts, graphs, reports. So we very much graduated to the oh wow, this is an app that I can come and log into and visit. I can take notes on members. I can start to group them, tag them so I can find them later. So yeah, now it's we've graduated beyond the command line and the idea. We had an Airtable out there for a while that a lot of people were using just to practice the ideas, but now now it's a real site, a real app.
Yes, and there is an open source part and there is a closed source part, as I understand, right? So what's Orbit model on the GitHub?
Yeah,
And it looks beautiful. There is a picture.
good good question. We do have a picture there. It's our kind of understand everything in a glance. It's a lot to take in, that one. But the open source part is the Orbit model itself, the documentation, just the set of ideas that we need a different way of thinking about communities than the traditional sales and marketing funnel. That's kind of one of the big ideas behind the Orbit model, is that we can't think of community members that we're as people we're trying to push through a funnel and only like continue to build relationships with them if they continue to go through that funnel. But the Orbit model is more nonlinear, non-binary. Community members are at different places all the time, and what or the experience that they might need at that moment really depends on what their participation has been historically in the community, what their goals are, what they're trying to do. So it's not just what am I trying to get out of this person being here. It's what value can we give to them? What are they looking for to move closer into the community? The Orbit model, we've got the sun at the center, the kind of center of gravity. And so we ask, like, why are people here? What would make them be even more interested so that they move inward? Or if they're drifting away, if their engagement is decreasing, if we're not seeing them anymore, they're falling out of the orbit, then we can ask, like, oh, what's happening?
Pretty much it looks like a great instrument for someone who already has their community, just to understand the community, to understand their interests, and to understand how they engage with each other. But what about the companies who don't have a community yet and still don't really know or not really sure if they need one? Is there something for them? Like, do you approach those guys as well, those companies?
Yeah, good question. It depends on if a light bulb has gone on or gone turned on somewhere with someone at the company where they think that the community might be an important part of their business strategy, whether that's helping them acquire new leads, new customers, or to helping them like retain and increase the usage from the people that they already have. If no one in the organization has the light bulb go off, like we need the community. We might not know much about community and how to implement that in our business yet, but we're willing to learn. Like if someone's had that moment, then we can work with them and we can, even if they don't have a community today, they probably have customers. And if they have customers, there might be a reason for those customers to talk to each other, or there might be some value that they can create for each other. And so we can take them on a kind of step-by-step process. But there has to be intention there. There has to be someone to lead that. There has to be someone who cares. And it's not just like a buzzword, like, oh, we heard community is big, let's build a community. If it's that, it's probably not going to work. And that person's going to have a hard time being successful with the Orbit set of tools in the Orbit ecosystem right now, because we can't like get people to cross that chasm. We can bring the horse, or it's like once the horse is there, the horse can drink the water. Getting the horse there, I think that's something everybody in the community space right now is focusing on quite a bit. Like, how do we get people who never thought about community as a way to build a business to start thinking about it that way. And that's
Do you
really
see this
exciting.
changing? Do you see this changing? Like that somebody, like everybody cares about the community right now. And if everybody, as in, is it salespeople? Is it business people? Is it product people? Like, do you see that suddenly everybody needs Orbit, everybody needs a community, or is it just in my head because I want it be there?
Yeah, I think when word of mouth and referral can be very powerful growth and retention and expansion strategies, I think there's usually a really good place to build a good incentive there to build a community. And it also just reflects so much of how the way that people buy and how that's changing quite a bit. People expect to have something referred to them by their friends. We live in the internet age. You can go online and see a million reviews about anything. People have, and consumers have, buyers of B2B or B2C tools have so much information at their fingertips and so many people they can reach out to get an opinion about something. And so that changes the way marketing and sales works, because it's not always you who's telling the person that. It's their friend who's had an experience firsthand or secondhand or third hand that's going to be the person ultimately giving their opinion on whether someone should check out your service or your product or not. And that kind of changes the game. Like, you need the advocates out there in the field who've had positive experiences with your company, with your brand, with whatever it is you're making, because a potential buyer might not come to you first. They're going to come to all of those people first and say, like, tell me what you really think about company X or company Y or some organization. And so that's one of the shifts that we see powering, because everybody's connecting. There's a million ways to communicate. It's really easy to get in touch with people who've had an experience with a product or service, or just look at it anywhere someone is sharing that. And so that it changes the nature, I would say, of how marketing and sales will work in the future. Just the very process of, like, how do we generate leads? Where are they coming from? What is a lead versus someone who's just like hanging out and we shouldn't try to push through quite yet.
The
And
definition of the future, is it like 2021, 2025? I don't know, or in 100 years? Like, you say that, like, that's when the marketing and sales gonna think differently about the community, and when is that future?
I think it depends on the industry, but it's quite soon. I would say if you're in the developer industry at all already, making a product for developers or doing something open source, that's already becoming obvious that that's a huge part of the go-to-market strategy. You put the tools in developers' hands, let them make them successful with it. Let them do that for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Build a relationship, and then that's what leads to a productive commercial conversation down the line. And trying to rush that, trying to force that early, can have negative consequences in terms of pushing people away. So in the developer space, maybe because this is how it's worked for a long time, or developers are notoriously allergic to a lot of forms of sales and marketing, we're just seeing that happen very quickly. Other industries, it's not going to be 2021 where necessarily the big changes are happening, but I don't think it's 100 years away. I think it's in the next 5 to 10 years. And
I'm just nodding rapidly. Karina, as a salesperson, what kind of numbers would you like to see, like from a DevRel of your community person? Like, what numbers would you like to see to justify their existence?
Well, yeah, to justify that it actually works, ideally, I know that you mentioned something about funnels previously, but this is the instrument that is being used in sales. And I mean, not much changed since the very beginning, right? So ideally for me, I would love to see the funnel, how it goes. This is my sales instrument, and that's actually the way I measure, right? Like different sources. And I actually perfectly can see how it could be done through Orbit. So as a salesperson, as a person who is responsible for sales, or let's say business development, Orbit as an instrument gives me actually an understanding how I can measure some community activities that will be there for, I don't know, certain period of time. So I'm probably asking and answering the question at the same time, but it's actually yeah, interesting. I mean, that's a completely new instrument for me. That's why I'm thinking, like, why I haven't searched for something like that before? Why I haven't thought about this before?
And what about the terms? They, instead of whatever leads and other salesy terms, they have love and reach. Does this sound appealing to you? Love and reach. Like,
There is
can you
also
project money onto the love and reach and not leads?
well, let's not like monetize everything, and let's not put me like as a person who is all about the money. But yeah, and there is also yeah. Well, I can totally see it. I can totally see how it could be integrated in the sales funnel, and yeah, sounds good to me.
One of the visual metaphors we have is like the ice cream cone, where you have the orbit on top of the funnel, and you have the ice cream that is sort of melting down into the funnel, and that's that visually models the represent or the concept. If you build a super active community that has a ton of gravity, is attracting new people, keeping the people who are there, getting them even more engaged, naturally, so many good things come out of that. And leads is one of them for sure. If you have a really passionate community, especially in the developer world, like those developers are going to want to use that technology the next time that they are talking to their boss or trying to influence a purchasing decision at their company. So it's really there's a great set of outcomes that come from building the community. What people are generally looking for is how to track or how to measure the rate at which the activity in the community in the orbits is affecting what goes into the funnel. Either the top of the funnel is obvious, like people are finding the business through the community, so that's purely like a top of the funnel type of situation. Community as the discovery engine, but there's a lot more to it too. Deeper in the funnel for people who are already customers, they might be expanding their usage quite a bit based on other tools they're finding in the community. They might be referring other people that they're friends with at other companies. So some people say, "Oh, community is just for a way to increase the top of the funnel for companies." And I think it's a lot more than that. That's certainly a very powerful way. Is the discovery and the awareness and the acquisition building. But any stage in the funnel, if the lead or the opportunity inside of that funnel, their mindset, their decision to purchase is being influenced by all this great community stuff that they see, then it just helps them get through the funnel faster, with less friction, less hand holding. And so we in the sales world, we have things like close rates go up and time to close goes down when there's an amazing community, because it's kind of like the community has already sold the person on what they want to do. And now the salesperson is just guiding them through that process versus having to really get them to make up their mind. Like the best thing is they've already made up their mind and like, I want to pay you. Tell me how to pay you. How much is it going to be? That's the best outcome. Like I already know what I need to know. Community has told me the documentation. My friend over here, I already know everything to do. Like I need to pay. I want to understand what that's like. That's like the best conversation that can have.
Well, that's cool. Now let's talk about your awesome community. And just before we jump, then people are gonna kill me if I don't ask this question. So I'm showing your website where both Slack and Discord are noted as coming soon. Do you have a definition of soon?
Yeah, great question. The Slack integration is in beta. We are probably launching that next week or two, I'll say. So that's like really ready to go. The Discord integration is in progress being built. I'd say the time frame around that is around a month, something like that. So we did do the Slack integration first, but we're doing Discord right after it. That's the next one in the pipeline.
Yes. So Jean is excited about Discord. We actually speculated with him about like, if they move from Slack to Discord, perhaps they're gonna implement Discord very, very fast. Like, right.
Indeed. Up the urgency. The urgency was already there from the voices of our community members for sure. But yeah, we want for our own sake to be able to analyze some of the awesome contributions that have been happening. So coming soon, we'll have inside of our Orbit Discord, we create a channel for every integration that we're working on to collect feedback, suggestions, anything like that. So over on the Orbit Discord, you'll see a Discord themed integration channel If it's not there already, we'll create that very soon. So we want as soon as we have something to share.
Yep. And let's talk about your awesome community then. So you had a community on Slack, and it was quite big, about 300 something people last time I checked, but perhaps more, right? And
sounds
you
right.
had
Yeah.
to move all those people to Discord. And can you tell a bit more about why? And since it's a big move, like to move 300 people, you might lose some, right? I mean, it's always scary. And how do you do that?
Yeah, well, I mentioned a little earlier, we worked with someone who has experience doing that before, and one of their first things to say was make the plan in advance, start to get used to the environment that yourself, so you can guide other people into it. We really laid out a step-by-step plan of what the migration path was going to look like for the customers that we had there, for each of the different channels inside of Slack. We were like, what are people getting out of that channel, and how are we going to create the same thing on Discord? So feedback channel, okay, that's really easy. That's like a one-to-one transfer. Customer conversation channels, that also ended up being pretty easy, and we got the voice channels to go along with it. But it took about a month. We sent out a proposal to the whole community that outlined the basic ideas. We didn't want to say, hey everyone, we've decided we're moving. Instead, we said, help us make this decision. We think that this might be the right way to go. Here's where we're not getting out of Slack that we'd like, so on and so forth. So we made it a proposal. We let people give feedback on it. We incorporated that feedback over a couple of weeks. And then after that, we announced a decision based on all of that, based on people seeming really happy with the change, that we were going to do it. And we left a couple of weeks in there. So I think giving the community a lot of notice and making sure that they felt listened to and were part of the decision-making process, I think that was...
I've seen that you also offered to some of the community members who would be struggling with setting up the Discord, actually the help to set it up, right? Because Discord is pretty hard to set up, but once you settle it, I mean, it's pretty hard to start using some other tools for the calls, because the quality and everything is so good here. So I was wondering if there were many of people to whom you actually helped settle it.
No, I don't think anyone yet where we've worked very deeply with them. But the invitation is really out there and really open if someone wants to do that more, and we're happy to connect anyone with like the very expert people that we worked with to help the migration too. Most of any of that is just casual chat that's happening in our Discord. Since we did just do the migration, there's some good, interesting threads in there around how that's worked and what people can learn from that or what they can apply themselves. But we would love, like, my dream in the future would be to have more guidance around that. We will publish a blog post this week or next about the migration too. So hopefully that'll provide some more help.
I'm thinking, I mean, you have like 300 plus people who come to your community not to hang out, but to solve their problems pretty much. Is it, and you're like playing games with them, suggesting like just hangouts, does it resonate with the community? They came there for like to solve a problem. They don't want to, find new friends whatsoever. And does it make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah, I think so. We want to have games and have fun in the Discord, build connections amongst people. At the same time, the reason that a lot of people are part of the community is because they want to get the most out of their Orbit implementation, their practice of the Orbit model, their career as a community manager, developer advocate. So that's one thing we're kind of keeping an eye on is, are we achieving the right balance of, let's say, like professional conversation with casual conversation? And that's something I think we're learning about and don't have much of an opinion on yet. Slack, because everybody is in there for work, a lot of people, like their other Slack workspaces or their work, tends to be pretty work-focused conversations, even in the community. And on Discord, that changes a little bit. So we've seen more casual communication, and that's one of the things that we wanted to see, was people getting to know each other a little bit more and better. But we want to make sure that there's enough space to talk about the work, and that people feel like comfortable saying, exploring like the deepest problems that they're having with anything Orbit related, or their something they're trying to achieve with their community goals. We want to make sure that it's also a space for that. So
What you're saying resonates with me deeply. Since when you have a work focused community, people don't like people leave notifications open, and if somebody starts talking about, discussing about a movie or about a painting or about music, like the notifications pop up. In Discord, you can like easily tune it up. If you can tune it precisely to get notifications only from specific channels, or by like the rules are so rich. Did you have to educate people about that, or do they just leave notifications as mention only and that is it?
we probably should check in with people and see how they've done in terms of finding those options. I think someone posted this week that they were getting notifications about everything, and we're very happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if we have that pinned to our to the getting started channel on our server or not, but that'd be a good one to do if we don't. That does change.
But is there? Yeah, sorry. But is there something in Slack that you actually miss? Let's give it a chance at least. I don't know. Like
Nah.
I don't just want to say the cliche things like threads, but we haven't missed threads too much yet. I feel like a lot of the conversations where it's had to go 20 messages deep have just been okay in Discord anyway. Will that scale once we're trying to have 5 conversations 20 messages deep at the same time? Probably a design question in terms of the channels we'll have to figure out. Keep our eye on that one. Slack doesn't make it really easy to just pop into a thread and then have a conversation there. Otherwise, we didn't have any like amazing integrations or bots or anything like that in our community Slack. I feel like if we did, maybe we would miss some of those, even though I know there's a ton of amazing Discord bots too. We haven't dug into that very deeply. But no, overall, like I don't think there's a big killer thing that we feel like we're missing. And the lower friction for people to join the server on the Discord side, even if they if it's their first Discord server, okay, there's still a little bit of friction there. We got to get them over that. But anyone who's already been on Discord, not having to convince people to create an entirely new Slack account just to join our community, like that's been really great. So that's kind of the opposite answer of your question.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's really anything that I feel like, oh, we really lost it. Maybe at some point a customer will refuse and they'll say like, no, I don't want to go on Discord, but we just create a shared channel from the company Slack. Like we still use Slack for the internal team collaboration. So even if a customer or community member said, I'm not really into the Discord thing, we can still service them over on Slack. They're going to miss out on the bigger community conversation, but we can set up a shared channel,
but
shared
why haven't
space.
you moved the team to Discord too? I mean, if the community is there, what's the problem of missing the team, of moving the team?
There, it's the deep integrations with development platforms in particular, like GitHub, Heroku, but all of the bots and the workflows related to building and deploying the software.
Okay, so it just takes time to move that. Are you planning, or is it like, yeah, it works with Discord? If it's working, let's not break it.
No plans yet, but we're not opposed to it. I think we're waiting to see what other how other teams manage that, and in particular on the engineering side. Because I certainly know it's possible, but if we're going to move the team, then we want to see more of what the concrete benefit will be, and just make sure that we have the same kind of integrations and privacy, security, the kind of administrative side. I mean, thankfully we're a small company of, so like I said, 6 people, but imagining when we'll be 60 or 600, that's where I'd be interested if there are companies out there at that scale who are running the entire company on Discord at 60 or 600 people versus Slack. I'd be looking to see if there are some case studies or some people out there who did that, because I would just want to know what are we going to run into if we try something like that. But part of having the community on Discord means we get to learn about it. So if we ever did want to make that decision, we wouldn't be making it without any experience. We'd already
Yeah.
have a good base of
If
usage.
somebody is watching us and it's 600 of you and you work for the same company and you use that as your main, I know, company CRM, like tool for corporate tool, please talk to us. We would like to invite you and make an example all over the internet. Liara, I've been jumping like in front of you for the whole an hour and 17 minutes.
Yeah. No, you haven't. Just for last 30 minutes.
Okay. Would you like to jump in, ask something, reflect on something that you've heard before we release?
Not much, because you already asked the question that I was wondering about. And well, I haven't used Slack, so I cannot, tell much about that. I just know that it's shit from your stories. So
Did the problem that the community doesn't want engagement, did it resonate with you? Like, did you find it interesting that people just want to have the community silent because they get notifications?
No, I don't like this. Well, that's why I wasn't in our Discord when it was like serious Discord. Because you was always talking some serious shit there, so I turned off all notifications. And when it became fun, I finally joined it. Like, okay, now I can be here. Now I feel myself here. So for me, it works vice versa. So I couldn't actually relate to this.
And all the work related, so like, and all the work focus people, mostly developer advocates, they were like, "Hey, let's talk about random fun," and they actually got engaged in all those conversations. So, Josh, for your community, perhaps that's how it's gonna
That can
end
work.
up. That can work. Like the relations that you mentioned, yes, they were built, and the people actually returned to started get more and more often to our community and like hang out, and it helps.
I'm pretty convinced about Discord. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me, right? But I have a question still about communities. It looks like every company that work with developers should have community, right? Is that right? Or there should be some approach to actually understand if you need the community. Like, how do you start? Where do you start from? This is the most, yeah, this is the most interesting part for me, because I mean, I'm still thinking about that, because I imagine that lots and lots of companies still, they don't have this community. They don't know where to start from. They don't know how to measure. They don't know what effect there will be on sales, not sales. And so just one piece of advice for those companies, like where to start from.
Yeah, absolutely. For the first part of the question, like, does every developer company need a community? I would say there are certain exceptions if the sales motion is going to be very very top down. If the company is like, some things are just designed to be built, and then you have like seven customers or 70 customers forever, and they're all on like, enormous multi-million-dollar contracts. And yeah, there are definitely still technology companies out there, and a lot of things in the enterprise where developer adoption doesn't have a big impact on whether that company is selling its software or not. Usually way still mostly just sold. And if a developer loves it, if a developer discovers it, does it matter or not? Yeah, for some of the software, the answer is no. But for a lot of what's coming up now, in any situation where is the developer as the end user going to influence the purchasing decision themselves to a great deal, maybe start thinking about a community. Because otherwise, if your competitor does, then your developer is going to find their tools and suggest that first. So that's kind of the key thing. Like, is there a way for whatever you're trying to market or sell for the end user as the developer to discover that and to influence the purchase. The purchase. If the answer is yes, we expect that like most developers will just find out about it and talk to each other. That's a community kind of thing. If the answer is no, the end user, like they're going to learn about the product after the company has already bought our solution and said, "Hey, we're implementing this." I don't know if you need a community in that situation. You could still have one for that developer to plug into to be successful while they're trying to implement the software that the company has bought. But it's less important than as when it needs to be a discovery vector for that, or when the developer is going to be expected to have a passionate voice in the decision making process around whether to buy the product or not.
I see. And the very, very, very last one. Do you think that the like latest situation with the lockdown, pandemic, and everything affects somehow more companies to think about community, whether to have it or not?
Yeah, I think a lot of companies have started thinking more about community as a way to reach their audience, because some of the other ways, like traditional events, have changed. There's more competition for people's attention online as more things move online, and therefore a lot of companies realizing that the cranks that they could turn, the dials that they could turn to increase in the future, whether that could be like more outbound communications, more marketing emails, once those things like stop working because there's an overall saturation of the volume of communications that people are getting, then it's like, okay, we need another way to do it. And one thing that happened in 2020 is the explosion of tools in the community landscape. Like there's just so many more tools, anything from community platforms to audio and video solutions to virtual events platforms, things like that. And you get a multiplier if you use any of those and you already are good at building an online community. If you're good at online community, then events are pretty well, they're not easy, but you get a multiplier out of your online community plus your events. Just doing the events in the vacuum isn't as good. In the physical world, it didn't seem like there was quite as much interplay or a multiplier effect on all of those things. Like, sure, someone who goes to a physical event, maybe they'll get your email newsletter, and so there is a connection between the digital and the physical. But now it's like you do a virtual event. We already have your attention on the computer screen or virtually. Like, what's the next thing that you might want to do? So that loop runs a lot faster. It's a lot more immediate, but also I think the amount of conversation and the competition for attention has gone up quite a bit too. So community is a great way to stand out. It's a great way for a business to say, like, what can we do that gets people excited and caring about what we're doing, and that's to try to break through the noise.
Thank you. I'm super excited about the last part.
Yeah, thanks for the really good questions. Appreciate
And let's call this an hour and 25 minutes
Yeah.
a show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for those few. Actually, not that few who are still with us. Hopefully, they are all Orbit fans. Hello, and
Hello.
goodbye. I guess.
Thank
Since
you
it's
for
time to start the show or stop the
all
show.
the technical difficulties. Sorry that had to be so difficult for a while, but I'm glad that finally something worked.
Yay.
It did. It did. Thank you for your time and for your stories and for your intel. And yeah, thanks again for
Not hear
everybody
you now.
who's been with us.
Muted himself.
Wow, almost on cue.
What? Did I mute myself?
Oh, there you go.
No,
Did
now
I
we
mute
can
myself?
hear you. It's okay.
Yeah, that stupid dude does crazy stuff all the time.
Okay.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah, thank you so much,
Thanks,
Josh.
everyone.
Thank you.
Great to meet you, Karina.
Bye.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye
Have a good
bye.
day. Bye.
You too.
Yay.